This is Back Roads of Illinois server to farmers and ranchers in central Illinois and the Midwest. Today's edition of Back Roads of Illinois. We were bringing you lasted for farming sources and information sponsored by AgriGold. We were glad you're here on a Wednesday. I'm Cesar Delgado. I am your host of today's program. We were talking about the farm economy with Chad Hart from Iowa State University Extension. This show is not going to have your ag news for today, but I want to talk about this farm economy. You know, we were going to have a conversation with Chad Hart on the farm economy. This been challenging for farmers with their break-even, however it is keeping growing concerns about these prices over for ag trade deficit for farmers in the Midwest. As now with the inputs cost like fertilizer and chemical seeds. We're in the recession in the farm economy for right now with the beans markets. The best of farmers are getting ready for this planting season on this spring. They are looking forward with this new growing season. This is the closing of the commodity markets for this afternoon, sponsored by Kyle Bumstead from Allendale. The grains markets are closed down for today. March corn is down at 3 to 5 cents. May corn is down at 9 to 4 from 1/2 quarter. July corn is down at 8 to 6 cents. Soybean futures is down for today. May corn is down at 3 to 5 cents. July beans are down at 5 to 10 cents. August beans are down at 5 to 8 cents. Chicago May wheat is down at 5 to 10 cents. Chicago July wheat is down at 9 to 5 cents. Chicago September wheat is down at 3/2. April cattle is up at 3 to 6 cents. June cattle is up at 5 to 10 cents. August cattle is up at 5 to 10 cents. May feeder cattle is up at 5 to 10 cents. July feeder cattle is up at 3 to 6 cents. September feeder cattle is up at 3 to 6 cents. April hogs is up at 3 to 6 cents. June hogs is up at 5 to 10 cents. August hogs is up at 9 to 4 cents. This been the commodities markets for this afternoon. We were talking about the farm break even. We know that the agricultural industry is break even over years from the Dust Bowl. Now we were joining with Dr. Chad Hart from Iowa State University. Hey Chad, how are things in Ames?
They're good here in Ames. It's late March, but things have warmed up and we're getting ready for springtime.
How about March Madness?
I think that was difficult for both Iowa State and Illinois fans. So we were a bit disappointed in leaving, during the first weekend, but all in all, still a really good season when you make the NCAA tournament.
I agree with you. Dr. Hart, could you tell us about that the agricultural is a break-even industry than other industry?
Yeah,
Even
when you look at
sometimes if
agriculture,
our job is full-time position with the livestock and crops. However, other industries is not break-even.
when you look at agriculture, it is a competitive industry. And what that tends to mean is that our prices are around our costs, and we don't tend to see long run sustained profitability. But what that allows within agriculture is that we do see farmers getting into the business, but we also see farmers exiting. And so it forces, if you will, a refreshing of the industry. And that's true whether we're looking at either crops or livestock as we look there. Now, not other industries are necessarily like that. There are just some industries where unless you have those specific skills, it's really hard to get in the game. And so that makes them less, if you will, competitive than what we see in agriculture. But the idea is that, throughout our history as humans here on Earth, as we learn to perform agriculture, because it took us a while to learn how to, you know, create crops, grow those crops, raise those livestock to meet our needs. But ever since then, basically anybody who's born basically sort of has some of the skills at least to participate in agriculture. And that's what makes it a free flowing industry and a break even one at that.
Why is that it is break-even in this industry? Because of our agricultural markets.
It's not just our markets, but it's our ability to, if, an individual can get access to a piece of ground, we can plant some seeds, we can participate in the growing of crops and the raising of livestock. And it allows that flow of folks both into and out of the industry that makes it competitive. Now, the other advantage that we have is that agricultural markets are everywhere. For example, as I look here in the state of Iowa, there are over 450 locations where you can, sell corn and soybeans. There are multiple locations to sell cattle and hogs. And so that means we have those market opportunities around us, which again facilitates that ability for many individuals, if they want to pursue a career in agriculture, they can. Well, what you've seen with government programs and services is we have seen the federal government over this winter provide if you will, a cash flow boost to agriculture. There are two types of payments coming out. There are what are known as the ECAP payments, the basically the payments that were just released by USDA over the past couple of weeks. Those are to help with the financial downturn ag has seen thus far and are being spread fairly widely, that support across the country. That's about a $10 billion program for agriculture. The other part of it, though, was a natural disaster assistance program that's being rolled out as well. That is a more targeted approach at, again, injecting some cash into agriculture to alleviate the cash flow issues here. But in this case, that natural disaster program is targeted towards the areas where we did see the hurricane damage, wildfires, flooding. So it's a typical natural disaster assistance program, but that one is slated to provide about $22 billion to agriculture as well. So you are seeing, at least early on here, a couple of government programs that have been basically set up and are starting now to provide some support to agriculture during this downturn.
What is your thoughts on the current economic and the farm economy?
Well, again, I think as we're looking at the economics right now, the market economics are still of a struggle right now. We have seen, again, lower prices throughout 2024 into 2025 for our crops. While we're seeing some stronger prices on the livestock side, we also know we're seeing some stronger costs on the livestock side as well. And so, as you sort of led off the interview with looking around break even, I would say a good number of our markets are hovering around, or if not a little bit below that break even level. And so the market economics are still rather weak for agriculture. But with the injection of government support, that will alleviate some of those concerns, at least here in the short run. The question is, in the long run, how long will it take for some of our markets to recover and bring prices back up above those break-even levels?
What is your thoughts on the cattle markets, Chad?
As we're looking at cattle, we've got incredibly strong prices where, fed cattle futures have been over $2 a pound. Feeder cattle futures have been approaching $3 a pound. So we're seeing, like I say, very strong prices, but also very high cost. And so it is this period of time, and it's one of these periods of I call it sort of the apprehension of the agricultural cycles that we go through, especially in cattle. They own, the cattle cycle is well known. And right now we're sort of waiting for that period of time where this, if you will, the roller coaster has been going downhill for a while, and we know we're going to have to bank back up again to start to rebuild the herd. But we also know it will be very costly to do so. And so that's why I say when you're looking at the cattle market, while prices are high, that doesn't mean profitability throughout the industry is high because costs are high as well.
Yeah, we are seeing the cattle weights between 315 330 for a few weeks ago.
Yes, incredibly strong prices, if not record prices in many parts of the countryside here. And, for those that are producing calves, so if, the cow-calf operations throughout the country, they are in a very good and profitable position. But we also know that profitability within the cow-calf industry can disappear very quickly because once the industry does start to rebuild the herd, we know those calf prices can come down actually probably even quicker than they went up.
Do you have any final thoughts on the brink of the farm economy with trade?
I think as we're looking right now, despite all the trade concerns, the tariff talk, from the crop side, what we are still seeing when you look at the weekly export data is that we still see growing exports right now. And so that's a good sign for the markets that even despite sort of the turmoil in the discussion around trade right now, that our trade flows are still positive when it comes to the crop side. Livestock, we're struggling a bit more there, but in some cases it makes sense. Cattle, with the cattle herd being smaller, you would expect less beef exports. We are seeing that. The challenging one right now is for the hog industry. We have seen about an 8% drop in export sales thus far. You could chalk some of that up to concerns or in the implementation of some of the tariffs, especially when it comes to China. But overall, when I'm looking at the trade markets for agriculture, they're arguably stronger than you might expect given the trade and tariff discussions of the past couple of months.
What date of the crop insurance for Iowa, Chad?
Crop insurance here in the state of Iowa, farmers would have signed up for it on March 15th. It's typically in this state, the vast majority, 99% of the corn and soybeans grown in the state is often covered by crop insurance. And what farmers found there was that for corn, coverage levels were about the same as last year. For soybeans, given the price drop over the past year, that the guarantees weren't as strong. And so, sort of like we're seeing this push for more corn plantings because of market conditions, you're seeing that being reinforced through crop insurance as well because the insurance guarantees move with the market.
Thanks, Dr. Hart.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
We've been talking with Dr. Hart from Iowa State University on back roads of Illinois. Thanks to Chad Hart from Iowa State University Extension. This been Back Roads of Illinois. I am Cesar Delgado. You have a good day.